Namaste. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of our entire team of LI Chapter Raipur, I extend our sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused to all of you due to a major technical error yesterday, even after we had taken care of all the glitches that could happen. As we all know, man proposes, God disposes. On this day of God, that's a Sunday, I have been given the honor of hosting today's webinar. Initially, when we started, this webinar was supposed to be a local event, but now it's turned into a global event. It gives us immense pleasure that we have received overwhelming response from participants from all over the world. This is indeed very encouraging for us that our esteemed speakers for today will be heard throughout the world. The overall theme for this webinar is synthesizing language and literature in the classroom. We are going to take you first to experience some magic of ballads in language teaching, for which we have the lady with the magic wand, Dr. Chumki Biswas. Mind you, to enter her class, you need to have three very important things with you. Firstly, a notebook, copy, and a pen or pencil to write and go through the wondrous activities is going to take us through. No magic varnishing ink pens, mind you. Secondly, your earphones or headphones for the activities with secret magic spells only you can listen to and be the first one to guess the answers. I won't really reveal anymore, or Dr. Biswas will turn me into a frog. Thirdly, a cup or flask of coffee or tea. You are going to be stuck with magic for the 2 sessions we have got lined up ahead. By the time the magic spell of the first session starts to lose its power, you will get to listen to our most renowned and learned speaker, Dr. Chittaranjan Kar, and I'm fortunate that Sir was the co-guide for my doctorate in English literature. He will cast his spell about the nuances of English language. Without much ado, I welcome you all once again to be enchanted and go back with lots of charms that you would be collecting from this web of magic in the air. I would like to call upon Dr. Shilpi Acharya, the president of LTI Raipur chapter. She will enlighten us about the magical work that LTI Raipur chapter is doing. Over to you, Shilpi ma'am.
Thank you, Simran. I'm happy to be a part of LTI Raipur chapter, and it's truly an honor for me to introduce LTI Raipur chapter, the seed of which was sown in the year 2011. Right from its formation, it has grown leaps and bounds in terms of reaching out to the English teachers of Raipur and conducting events of great magnitude. LTI Raipur chapter aims at becoming a catalyst, a facilitator, and a trendsetter in spreading English literacy among the students and teachers of the region, and thereby strive to promote professional excellence among its members in all possible ways. To align with its vision, LTI Raipur chapter started its journey from the year 2012 and has conducted a series of workshops, seminars, conferences, lecture series, and so many such activities, the list of which goes on. I have picked up just a few activities as we would really fall short of time if I talk about all of them. In these events of Raipur chapter on English language teaching, we had Dr. Chumki Vishwas as resource person. Let me tell you, she is with us as resource person for the third time on demand by our participants. In this series, we had Ms. Meeta, Ms. Mala Palani as resource person from Pearson and Oxford University Press. In the year 2017, Dr. J.B. Singh Memorial Lecture Series were introduced under the aegis of LTI Raipur chapter and is still being conducted successfully every year. Till now, we had conducted 4 Dr. J.B. Singh lecture series and renowned professors like Dr. Gautam Ghoshal from Vishwavati Vishwavidyalaya Shantiniketan, Dr. S.Z.H. Abidi, former professor and head Lucknow University, Dr. Chittaranjan Kar, former professor and head Department of Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Dr. B.K. Tripathi, professor and head Sambalpur University, graced the occasion with their presence as resource person. This webinar is the second event of 2020, and in spite of the existing crisis of the pandemic, the number of registrations that ranges more than 1300 itself speaks of the magnitude of the events conducted by LTI Raipur chapter. Under the able guidance of senior professors and a strong team of all the enthusiastic members, I'm sure that LTI Raipur chapter will reach great heights. Thank you. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like to invite our patron of LTI Raipur chapter, Dr. Savita Singh, to introduce the resource person of the day and start the most awaited session. Over to you, ma'am.
Salutations to all the netizens present on this virtual platform today. The sentiments I express here are on behalf of all the members of the LTI Raipur chapter, co-conveners Dr. Shashank Gupta and Dr. Shilpi Bhattacharya, and our technical team. I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused to all of you yesterday. I feel proud to state that we have more than 1,300 registered participants from India and different parts of the world from 11 other countries. We have participants from the USA, Germany, Vietnam, Algeria, Lebanon, Turkey, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives, Qatar, and Dubai. To all the international participants, I proffer our traditional Indian pranam and namaskar. And closer home, Jai Johar from Raipur, Chhattisgarh, the tribal heart of India. Language is the vehicle of thought and expression. It is, and the language of English is empowering and transformative. Literature is a repository of all human knowledge, extending even beyond recorded history. It helps in getting insights into life and the human condition. It gives us a glimpse of other cultures and people, thus transcending time and space. Literature fuels the imagination and provokes joyful thoughts. The theme of this webinar is synthesizing language and literature in the classroom. I can assure you that all of you shall be enriched for life by the experience we offer you today. I feel honored and delighted to introduce to you the charming and charismatic Dr. Chumki Biswas, the first resource person today. A doctorate in ELT, she is a member of the Board of Studies, Mumbai University. Equipped with a rich experience of over 18 years, she has carved a niche for herself in the field of ELT. She is closely associated with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Oxford University Press, IMS for CAT and GMAT, and Prometrics, Virginia, USA. Her areas of expertise are ELT, soft skills, business communication, and organizational behavior. She has conducted more than 400 workshops and training programs. Her talk today is on the magic of folk ballads in the classroom. I guarantee that she is going to enthrall you as she takes you on a wonderful, memorable journey in the next hour. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Biswas.
Good afternoon to all my viewers here. Thank you, Dr. Savita Singh, for that lovely and warm introduction. I'm glad it was mercifully short, and I think the audience will be very glad too. Now, the last time I had a webinar, I spoke on a very grave topic like empirical research. And here I am again today, but the purpose of this webinar today is very different from what it was last time. So what I'll do is first establish the purpose. Towards that, I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a few seconds. Okay, I would like a confirmation whether my screen is visible or not.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So today I'm going to talk about first the challenge that we educators are facing. And for that, I will go to the first point. Now, when we're talking about the English language, the way I see it, it has two aspects to it. The first part is teaching the language itself. And then once the learners are proficient enough in the language, then we move towards teaching them how to appreciate good literary works in the English language. Now, teaching literature in the classroom is mostly lecture-based, but when we talk about the language classroom, gone are the times when we were dependent on rote learning. We did endless exercises from Renan Martin. We have understood the benefits of an activity-based classroom where you give learners activities to do. And while engaging in those activities, they are able to learn the language better and in a smoother manner. So things were going great for both the literature teachers and the language teachers, but then unfortunately, the COVID virus made an appearance and terrorized us. Now, as a result, what happened is we had to take all our teaching to an online platform. Now, teaching face-to-face is quite a challenge. So imagine how much more challenging it is to teach online. But this challenge gets compounded multifold when you are expected to do activities online, because the possibility of interacting with the learners is very difficult when you are on an online platform. So the main purpose of today's webinar is to show you how to modify the existing tasks that we have in language teaching so that they become suitable for delivery on an online mode. At this point, I would like to say that there are a lot of words like computer assisted language teaching, short form is CALL. Now, what we are basically going to do today is actually understand how the computer can assist us in doing activities in the classroom. So these activities, once we modify them, should be as effective as they were while we were delivering face-to-face. Now, the second purpose of today's webinar is to bridge a gap. Now, you will be asking me, what gap am I talking about? So the gap is between a literature and a language. Now, whenever I talk of literature and language, I am reminded of the famous ballad by Rudyard Kipling, where he said, "The East is East and the West is West, and never shall the twain meet." Now, I have heard endless debates among teachers of literature and language about who is doing the more important job. Now, instead of looking at ourselves as the two opposite banks of a river, what we should focus on is basically the river itself, because to me, the English language is the river, and our job as educators is to take that river to anybody who loves that language and wants to learn it. So when I talk about literature, if I define it in my own words, I would call it food for the soul. But when I come to language, I realize that because of the English language, I'm able to do a lot of my day-to-day activities. I was able to clear my first job interview. I was able to get a job, and I'm able to deliver my words to my students. So in short, if I put it simply, the English language has helped me to earn my bread and butter. So I call it the food for the body. Now, I'm both a language trainer, and at times I also teach literature. So when I'm in the language teaching mode and when I have the language teacher's hat on, I tend to think from my brain. So I most probably would say something like, get to the point. But at times when I'm teaching literature, I tend to think from my heart. So maybe I'll tell my students that stop and do smell the roses. So my endeavor for today's webinar is to take the soul-stirring aspect of literature and weave it into the fabric of language activities that we can deliver in the classroom in a more composite way, so that these activities are not only fruitful, but they are also more enjoyable in nature. Now, coming to the next part of how this webinar is going to help you. Now, this webinar is going to be of use to you if you look at it from the correct or the right perspective. If you judge the contents of this webinar from the eyes of a domain expert, you might not find it so useful. For example, if you look at it from the eyes of a ELT expert or a literature expert, then this will not be all that fruitful. However, if you look at this webinar from the eyes of a language learner, specifically the eyes of an online language learner, then you will find that the activities that I'm going to do are not only beneficial, but it will also be fun, and you will enjoy the session a lot more. Now, having established the background, I'm going to go to the topic of my webinar today, that is the magic of folk ballads in language teaching. Now, I want to take the magic of literary works, specifically folk ballads, and I want to inject it into the activities that we can do in a language teaching classroom. So I'll talk a little bit about my background. I grew up on a diet of comic books and lots of old English songs. Now, thanks to my family's love for both, I became fluent in English at a very early age because I grew up on a rich diet of not only reading comic books, but also listening to a lot of English songs. Now, to all the songs that I have heard in my life, I realized that the ballad is the most suitable for what I have in my mind today. I could have chosen different genres of songs, but I decided to select the ballad. Now, there are many reasons for it. The first being that a ballad has a story to tell. Now, who doesn't love a story? Everyone in this world loves a story, because a story has the capability of reaching out to everyone. It can mend broken souls, it can motivate you, and it can change your life. So yes, that is why that is one of the main reasons I have settled down on a ballad. Next thing is that the language of a ballad is very simple. So for new language learners, to comprehend the words of a ballad is going to be very, very easy. And a ballad is mostly composed in verses of 4 lines, very short verses. So that also adds on to the ease of comprehension. The next point is that a ballad is generally sung to very few instruments. It is accompanied by very few instruments. So the focus is not on the music, which can be distracting for new learners. The focus is more on the words. So I feel that a ballad suffices very well for the purpose of language teaching. Now, a ballad is also sung very, very slowly, which gives the learners ample time to listen to the words and comprehend the meaning behind the words. Now, I also chose a ballad because a ballad has a zing to it. It is spiced up because of three factors. The first is that we have memorable characters in the ballads that we listen to, and we can always associate better when there are characters in a song or a story. The second aspect of a ballad is that it comes with a crisis or a conflict, just like any other short story. But as human beings, we thrive on looking at the ending of a crisis. We thrive on reaching a satisfactory end because it has a cathartic effect on us. Hence, a ballad is very, very suitable for the purpose that I have in mind today, as opposed to other kinds of songs. Now, the next part I'll talk about is that why did I select the song of all types of literary genres? I could have easily settled down on a poem or essay, a story, but I decided to select a song because, again, there are many reasons why a song is very, very effective. The first one is that a song is very emotive in nature. Like throughout the day, you might be going through different mood swings. You might be depressed, you might be angry, you might be restless. But the moment you listen to a good song, it manages to lift up your senses. It manages to release all the pent up emotions, and you end up feeling very happy after listening to a good song. So the point I'm trying to make is no matter what is the starting point, after you listen to a song, you will be happy, and that is a guarantee. Next is songs that I'm going to use, the videos that I'm going to use today are dually coded. That means you will not only be able to listen to the words of a song, but you will also be able to read the lyrics on the screen. So you are getting support from two sides. You are able to listen and understand, and that is added on to the fact that you are going to be able to read the words of the song. So this is dual coding. And because it is dually coded, it is much easier for a new language learner who is struggling to learn the language to comprehend it in a much easier way. Now, coming from easy comprehension, I'm going to the next point is where it is easier to retain what you understand if you are able to comprehend in the first place. So songs are more retentive, and ballads especially are even more retentive because it has a story to tell. And anyway, it is easier for everyone to remember a story. We never forget a story. Next is, a song is a refreshing change from teacher talk. Now, imagine in the current situation, a new language learner might have to sit through 4 lectures and listening to the teacher talk continuously can get quite tedious. So if you intersperse your lecture with a song once in a while, it will make for a refreshing change. The second purpose to using a song in the classroom is that most of us English teachers from countries which are maybe not native speakers, we ourselves are not native speakers of English. So it makes good sense to expose the listeners to a variety of native English so that they can understand the nuances of native English. Next is songs are easily available online. You don't have to go hunting high and low, to find a good song that you can use in the classroom. And most importantly, most of the songs that are available online comes, free in the sense that you do not have to end up paying a lot of money for this material. And I would like to make a point here that if you use songs from the YouTube for teaching purpose, I don't think we are really violating copyright issues. So the next part I'm going to talk about is what makes a good language learner? What is the magic mantra behind a good language learner? Now, a person can become proficient in a language if they have mastery over 4 sub-skills. I'll take you through each one of these sub-skills. The first one being your listening skill. Now, if you're able to listen and understand language, that is the starting point of learning any language. At this point, I would like to draw your attention to two words, receptive skills and productive skills. Now, listening is a receptive skill because you're listening to words, you're comprehending it, so it's receptive in nature. On the other hand, if I'm talking about speaking skills, in speaking skills, what you do is you reach down into existing reserve of words, you reach down into your existing proficiency in grammar, and you construct something and then you produce it. So hence it is known as a productive skill. After that, if we go to reading skills, again, you will see that reading is a receptive skill because you're reading the words and trying to comprehend it. And the last of these four sub-skills is a writing skill. The writing skill, again, is a productive skill. Now, a good language learner, in a nutshell, should have mastery over all these four sub-skills, and the acronym for this is LSRW skills. Now, you will notice that I have marked the listening skills and the reading skill as receptive, and I've marked them in red color. That is because these are the two activities that you will be able to do today, even though you are on a different platform. However, for the productive skills like speaking and writing, you will not be able to do these activities because you're on a different platform. So what I have planned is I will conduct a demo on Zoom itself so that you can see how you can conduct these activities in real time in your classroom. Now, the second aspect of a good language learner, these are related to the LSRW skills, is that you should have a good range of vocabulary. So when you are listening to a new song, the possibility of you picking up a few words here and there is also there. Next is neutral pronunciation and enunciation. Most of us who are from non-native speaking countries, we generally tend to fashion our words on how we hear our teachers speak or how we hear our parents or friends speak. But if you listen to English songs, then you have the possibility of modeling your pronunciation and enunciation on those of native speakers. Now, the last aspect of a good language learner is to have knowledge of grammar. Now, please note that I have written in brackets acquired implicitly, which means that passé is the time when you used to use the traditional method of teaching grammar through written exercises, through practice drills. Grammar is supposed to be acquired implicitly, without having been taught. If you are indulging in the four sub-skills, you automatically acquire good grammar. And the way you acquire it is pretty easy, and it is not very taxing to the new learner. Now, this is the background that I had to establish for today's activity. Now, I will go to how I have planned to take this day forward. Now, I have selected 4 ballads, 4 songs, and I'm going to use these 4 songs to show you each of the 4 skills. That means the first song I'll be using to do a listening activity, the second song for speaking, the third for reading, and the 4th song for writing skills. I've also chosen 4 songs to demonstrate to you how these activities can be modified so that they're suitable for online delivery. And the next purpose that I'm going to talk about is, since you're going to be doing these activities today in the here and now, you will be able to understand how to actually conduct them in the classroom on an online mode. Next is the 4 songs that I have picked up. I spent days selecting these songs because I wanted these songs to have a uniform theme. And in today's case, the songs that I've selected all revolve around the parent-child relationship, which is something I think we can all relate to. The second thing is that all the songs and all the activities that I'm going to do today will be uniform in terms of duration. That means I will take around 8 to 10 minutes to conduct each of these activities. And the last and the most important is that if you catch on to the delivery style of one activity, then you will be able to apply the same know-how for the remaining 3 activities. So same goes with the language learner. Once you conduct one activity, they know the flow and the pattern of it, they will understand and quickly catch on to it, and they will be able to do it with a lot of ease. So now that I've established the background for today's webinar, how it's going to benefit you, and why I've chosen a ballad and how I plan to go ahead, I will go out of my slide, and first I would start with a song for a listening comprehension activity. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, now before I play the song, I want you to grab your notebook and I want you to write down the numbers 1 to 12 here in a vertical line. And what I'll be doing is I'll play a song. You will not only be able to listen to it, but you'll also be able to read the lyrics. Now, when you're reading the lyrics, you will note that there are blanks marked with serial numbers. So your job today is very, very simple. You basically have to listen, and the moment you know that the blank is coming up, you listen more carefully, and the moment you hear the word which goes into the blank, you simply note it down in your notebook. You note down the word against the number that is marked against the blank. Okay, this is how we go. Now, I know that you will take some time to write down the numbers. So in the meanwhile, I'll just set up about playing the song. Now, while I'm sharing my screen, I'm going to play the song. You will, I will not start without warning. I will first say 3, 2, 1, go, and then only I will press the play button. So while you're writing down the numbers, let me just share my screen. Okay, I need a confirmation from my team. Could you listen to the audio and also see the screen?
Yes, madam, it is visible.
Okay, fine. So now I will do the countdown and then I'll start. Please settle down, otherwise you will miss the blanks because I'm going to be able to play the song only once. The possibility of repeating will not be there today. So here I go. 3, 2, 1, play.
Well, she seemed all right by dawn's early light, though she looked a little worried and weak. She tried to pretend he wasn't drinking again, but Daddy left the proof on her cheek. I was only 8 years old that summer, and I always seemed to be in the way. So I took myself down to the fair in town on Independence Day. Well, word gets around in a small, small town. They said he was a dangerous man, but Mama was proud and she stood her ground. She knew she was on the losing end. Some folks whisper, some folks talk, but everybody looked the
Okay, now that I have, just a moment. Now that I have played the song for you, and I'm sure you've written down your answers, I will flash the answers now. Please check and see how many of them you have got correct, and then you can judge for yourself whether you found this listening comprehension activity useful or not. So here I'm going to show you the answers now. I will wait for a minute for you to cross-check with the answers that I've given out. I can see on the YouTube chat box, people are giving out their scores. Somebody scored 11 on 12. That's very sweet of you to actually share your answer score. So I think that is ample time for the audience to check their answers. So now I will. Okay, so at this point, I would like to mention a fact. I'm not going to show you anything new. It's not like you haven't been using songs, and it's not like you haven't been using fill in the blanks as an interesting activity. But the trick is that I made this video with the blanks inserted in it. So what I did was, first I made PPT slides, and then I superimposed the song. I sync the song with the words so that it is deliverable online. See, at today's point, you won't be able to give hard copies to the students. So the trick from this activity is to learn how to convert your fill in the blanks in a video form with the song so that the students can simply look at it and then note down their answers. Now, we don't make things very complicated, online. See, I could have easily made a Google quiz and send it to my audience like in the last webinars. But the problem is, if you have a soft copy, you will not have enough time to listen to the word and then type out your answer in the soft copy. So hence, you have to simply use a notebook and allow the learners to note down their answers. And once you flash the answers, they can calculate for themselves how much they're scoring. So the idea is not to complicate things, but the idea is just to modify them so that we can do it with the same ease as we were doing these activities when we were meeting the students face to face. So now that we are done with the first activity, I'll move on to the second skill. If you remember the sequence, it is LSRW. So now I'm going to play you a song and I'll show you how we're going to use it to encourage students to speak up in the classroom. Okay, so I will share my screen again and I will take you to the next song. Okay, now before I start the song, I would like to say something. Now, this song was written by Harry Chapin's wife. She was pregnant for the first time. And unfortunately, when she had the baby, he was not around because he was busy traveling around the world recording songs. So when he came back, he was very, contrite about the fact that he missed a wonderful moment in his life, and hence he took the lyrics and he put music to it. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy the song with this little background. Now, before I start, I will again ask confirmation whether you can hear it, and I will do the same thing. Sir, is it visible, and could you hear the sound?
Yes, madam, it is visible, and we are waiting for audio.
Okay, I didn't play it. Let me. So Here I go, the same procedure. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, play.
Yes, it is audible.
Child arrived just the other day, came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch, bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it, and as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad, you know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He said, thanks for the ball, Dad, come on, let's play. Can you teach me to throw? I said, not today, I got a lot to do. He said, that's okay, and then he walked away, but his smile never dimmed. Said, I'm gonna be like him, yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. Well, he came from college just the other day, so much like a man, I just had to say, son, I'm proud of you. Can you sit for a while? He shook his head and he said with a smile, what I'd really like, Dad, is to borrow the car keys. See you later, can I have them, please? And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. You know we'll have a good time then. I've long since retired, my son's moved away. I called him up just the other day. I said, I'd like to see you if you don't mind. He said, I'd love to, Dad, if I can find the time. You see, my new job's a hassle and the kids are the flu, but it's sure nice talking to you, Dad. It's been sure nice talking to you. And as I hung up the phone, it occurred to me, he'd grown up just like me. My boy was just like me. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. We're gonna have a good time there.
Okay, so now that you have listened to the song, I think that little background help of how regretful he was for what he couldn't do for his son. And then he said that I must put music to this song, and it became very, very popular. And it's an all-time classic. It's an all-time hit. Now, since I told you you are on a different platform, I cannot expect you to interact with me and give me your comments. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll request Dr. Shilpi Bhattacharya. She's going to be my test and practice student today, the language learner. And the activity that I have in mind for you is when you listen to this song, I am reminded of a lot of English proverbs that I know from my childhood. And I can relate those proverbs to the theme, to the story of the song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to request Dr. Bhattacharya to be my learner today and to share one or two proverbs that she has come up with and how she can relate it to the context of the song. So yes, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a great pleasure to be your learner, to be your student, ma'am. While listening to this song, I was reminded of two proverbs. The first one is, as you sow, so shall you reap. Because when the son said that let's play, so the father gives an excuse that I have planes to catch and bills to pay. So after that, the son says, I'm going to be like you, dad. And at the end of the song, while I was listening, the dad, when he retired and he called up his son who got a new job and new assignment, he said, I want to meet you. So he said that if I have time, dad. And then after a pause, the dad says, he has grown up just like me. So as you sow, so shall you reap was one of the proverbs that I could relate to while listening the song. And the second one, I feel, time and tide waits for none. Because when during the 10th birthday, the son says, thanks for the ball, dad, and let's play. And the dad says, not today, I have a lot to do. To which the son replies, it's okay. And he went. But I felt that on his 10th birthday, that day is gone. Maybe the 10th birthday will never come again in his life. And he is left with so many unfulfilled dreams. So time and tide waits for none. As you said during the introduction of the song, that he missed this beautiful opportunity when the child was coming on this earth. So the same thing, time and tide waits for none. So though these two proverbs are very different from each other, but somehow I could relate to these two proverbs while listening the song.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. That was so wonderful. I wish all my learners were as model students as you, so, eloquent about what you have to say, so focused. So, yes, like you said, the two proverbs that you used are pretty different from each other. They do not run along the same vein. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a few of the other proverbs that I came across. Even I didn't know they existed because come from different parts of the world. So I created a slide on the proverbs that I found, and I'll tell you why I created that slide. So again, I'll have to share my screen. This is one problem with the Zoom, to keep on sharing again and again. Now, yeah, I'll just, can you see the screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. Now, see, this is what I, garnered from the internet. Now, when I started looking, there were literally hundreds of them, but I settled down on a few of them because these are the many that I could fit on a slide. Now, the reason I'm sharing these proverbs is that not all students are as eloquent or, as forthcoming as Dr. Bhattacharya. So many of them will be reluctant to come up with the proverbs of their own, or many of them, just because they're new to the language, might not even know about some of the proverbs. So instead of expecting them to maybe come up with a proverb of their own, you can show them a selection, a list of proverbs, and you can ask them that you can choose any one of these proverbs and show why this can be applied and how this can be applied to the content of the song. So I would like to draw attention to this African proverb. It really reached out to me, which says that the axe forgets what the tree remembers. So the son never forgot what the dad, kind of behaved with him, how the dad behaved with him. But also, coming from Dr. Bhattacharya's point that the proverbs need not all run along the same line of karma coming back to bite you. It can also be something new. For example, two wrongs don't make a right. So why is it that the son had to behave in the same way like the dad? He could have broken the cycle of karma and he could have been good to the dad. So it shows that, you can always start something fresh. You need not be like your father. You need not follow into the footsteps of your father. Well, of course, it's good you follow, but you can, chart out your own path if you want. So yeah, a lot of different proverbs, can be applied to the song. It is very unfortunate that today we are on different platforms, so I cannot hear my audience, but in your classroom, when you're dealing with maybe 20 students in a tutorial, you can give the opportunity to each of the learner to come up and say something of their own. Now, learning a speech by heart and speaking will never make you a good learner, but if you can create something, if you can produce something on the go, that is what will make you a good speaker. So if you are short of time, this is just, as an additional thing I'm saying, if you're short of time, if the number of students in your classroom is more, then you can request each student to record their speech, what they have to say about the song, along with the proverb of their choice, and they can send the recording to you on your Google Drive, and you can listen to those speeches when you are free. So even that is a good way of encouraging your learners to speak on their own and speak pretty happily now. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here again. I am done with the second skill of the day, which is we are done with the listening and speaking. So you can guess that we are moving on to the reading activity. Now for the reading, again, I will play a ballad. This ballad is actually a gospel music. That means it is meant for people who go to the church to show them the right way. But they have used an informal word called hooker in the song. I hope people will not take exception to the word, but look at the content of the word. Also, I want to say that because my audience is a mature adult audience, I took the discretion of choosing this song. But if you're using ballads in the classroom, you have to look at the age of your learners and then decide which song is suitable for their purpose. So I'm going to move to the next song, the third song. Now, once you listen to the song, I will request my team to post a link to a Google form. Now, the Google form I have created in the form of a reading comprehension multiple choice question. So once you finish listening to the song, we'll post the link on the YouTube chat box. Please click on the link and then you complete the comprehension passage. Okay, this is pretty much done in the traditional way. Again, I will follow the same procedure. I will say 3, 2, 1, go, and then only I'll start. But before that, I want a confirmation from my team whether the screen is visible.
Madam, screen is black. It is not visible.
Okay, I'll try again. This is very, very harrowing. Is it visible now, sir?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, so just throw up a small prayer and press the play button. So here I go. 3, 2, 1, play.
A farmer and a teacher, a hooker and a preacher, riding on a midnight bus bound for Mexico. One was headed for vacation, one for higher education, and two of them were searching for lost souls. That driver never ever saw the stop sign, 18-wheelers can't stop on a dime. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, heaven only knows. I guess it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. That farmer left to harvest a home and 80 acres. The faith and love for growing things in his young son's heart. And that teacher left her wisdom in the minds of lots of children, and did her best to give them all a better start. And that preacher whispered, "Can't you see the promised land?" as he lay his bloodstained Bible in that hooker's hand. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, heaven only knows. I guess it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. That's the story that our preacher told last Sunday as he held that bloodstained Bible up for all of us to see. He said, "Bless the farmer and the teacher and the preacher who gave this Bible to my mama, who read it to me." There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, now I guess we know. It's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway.
Okay, I'll stop sharing the song now. I'm sure you understood the story behind it, because based on your understanding, you're going to do the reading comprehension passage. Sir, will you please, post the link to the Google form for the audience to access it? And I would like confirmation from the audience on the chat box itself that you're able to access the form. Now, I want to say that the reading comprehension, I have made it a mixture of, factual questions as well as inferential questions. If you want, you can also put in a test for vocabulary. So it depends on you as a teacher, what you want to include in your comprehension, because, isolated words in comprehension and in context can also be, tested in the same questionnaire in the same way. It's a simple one, it's a multiple choice one, and I have not timed the quiz, so you can take about 2 or 3 minutes to go through the link. Oh, in the meanwhile, I have prepared something. I'm going to flash the questions on the screen for people who might want to use, watch this recording later. Sorry about that. Somehow the video is not playing beyond that, so it's okay. I was thinking I'll post the same questions on the screen, but somehow my video is giving me trouble. So Yeah, can't help it. Next time I'll try harder. Sir, I think, has the link been posted yet? Because many of them have commented that the link is not there. Hello? Hello? Anybody from my
Yes,
team?
madam.
Has the link been posted yet? Dr. Gupta, if you can hear me, can you please share the link with the audience?
Yes, already shared, ma'am.
Oh, okay, because I couldn't see it on my screen.
10 बार post कर दिया मैंने. Yes, ma'am. लिंक तो मैं लगातार 10-12 बार पोस्ट कर दिया मैम मैंने.
Okay.
Gupta sir, link is not visible here in comment section.
Yes.
Link is not visible here.
Can you repost it, please? The audience is waiting.
Gupta sir, kindly send me the link. Just now I have shared a link on YouTube comment. Kindly check. Gupta sir, is it visible there? Just now I have shared a link on YouTube comment. Kindly check. Gupta sir, is it visible there?
No, even I cannot see. आप पेस्ट करते जाइए.
No,
Yes.
no. The link, even I haven't been able to find it.
No, not visible. Still not visible. In fact, even I cannot see. आप पेस्ट करते जाइए.
No. The link, even I haven't been able to find it. Yeah, somebody send it. You can send it on the WhatsApp group that we have formed for the participants. That would be a good idea too. Yeah, right. Okay, it's come. Finally, it's come. Thank you so much. Gupta sir, thank you. Yes, so participants, the link is finally there for you. It is not a very difficult or time-consuming affair, so quickly go through it so that we can move on to the last song for today's webinar.
Actually, I have posted many times from the admin panel. So is
Yes,
it visible there?
I've already seen it twice. So now we are happy.
Thank you, ma'am.
after yesterday's, system crash, I am so anxious. I could barely sleep, wondering how it's going to go today. But I think we managed it pretty fine. Thank you. My technical team has done a wonderful job. Maybe I can share the soft copy of the questionnaire on the screen. Let me see if that works. Yeah, can you see the questions? This is for the people, maybe. Okay, it comes with the answers, but that's fine. Sir, can you see my screen?
Yes, madam, it is visible.
Oh, okay.
There is a Google Drive. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so somehow the last 2 slides of my video didn't work, so I'm not going to be able to show you the answers in bigger fonts. So I have opened up my document here and I have highlighted the answers in red color. So you can cross-check, and this is mainly for people who will listen to the recording later, but those who have done it on the Google form will get your score then and there. Okay, people have started posting their percentage. So yes, that means you have done it. So great. Next, I'll move on to the last song for today. Now, this is my all-time favorite song because it's in the vein of a nursery rhyme, and it was meant for kids. And the sad part about this song is the writers of the song, Mary, Peter, and Paul, when they published the song in 1963, they ended the song at the crisis, and they never resolved the crisis. So what happened is when people all over the world heard this song, they were very disturbed about the fact that, the cathartic effect is not happening after listening to the song. So they requested Peter to, give it a happy ending. So a few months later, Peter added a happy ending to the song. So what I'll do is I'll play you the song till the point where they first recorded it. And then the challenge, the writing challenge, is that you will come up with your own happy ending. I will, of course, show you some samples. And these samples I've collected from a challenge. Now, there was a world challenge called the Happy Ending Challenge for Puff the Dragon. So many people wrote in their happy ending, and they not only wrote the storyline, but they also changed it into the lyric form. So right now I'm going to share my last song. I'm going to share my screen again.
The screen is visible.
Yes, thank you. I will do the same trick. I will say 3, 2, 1, play.
Good.
Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff and brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail. Jackie kept a lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow whene'er they came. Pirate ships would lower their flags when Puff roared out his name. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. A dragon lives forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giant's rings make way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more. And Puff, that mighty dragon, he ceased his fearless roar. His head was bent in sorrow, green scales fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff, that mighty dragon, sadly slipped into his cave. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu.
Okay, so here you realize that the song ends with Puff being sad and, you know, him crawling back into his cave, and many of the listeners took it as Puff dying, the spirit of Puff dying, which is as bad as spirit dying physically, Puff dying physically. So I'm going to show you 4 alternative happy endings on the screen. Your effort with your learners should be encourage them to come up with their own version of a happy ending. So yes, I will take you through the first one. Okay, so here is happy ending number 1. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, it is audible, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So the first one that I've chosen here is about a little girl who comes and revives Puff's spirit and, you know, allows him to play again. So this is happy ending one. You can read through the lyrics. Once you finish, I'll take you to the next alternative ending. So this is about a random little girl called Mary coming into the picture. Now, the first part of this was to create the story in your head, how to end, and then you put them in the form of lyrics, which again is very, very creative and challenging to a learner. I mean, who wants to write a boring essay on how you spend your COVID, you know, cooped up inside the house? Instead of them, you give a challenge, you know, which will kind of motivate them to get more creative and come up with something new. So we are moving on to the next happy ending. I've started playing the video. It should move on to the next page. Yes. So this is our happy ending 2, where Jackie Paper's sister comes and revives Puff. So instead of Mary, this one has Jackie's sister coming in and taking over from where when Jackie grew up, to continue the saga of Puff. So I think, you know, I put it in some sort of a sequence here. Initially, a girl comes, Mary comes in, then comes Jayla, and then I wonder if you can guess what is the third one that I'm going to show you. Many of you might have guessed, I'm sure. Okay, so the third one, we have, you know, Jackie's son coming in, because Jackie's grown up, he's married, and now he has a son of his own, you know, Jackie Jr. called Billy. So this time, Billy comes to revive Puff. Just read through the lyrics, and then I go one step ahead. I think there'll be no kudos for guessing what is the next ending gonna be. Okay, so here comes the last one. This is Jackie's grandson coming into the picture to continue playing with Jimmy. So you can see how creative this song allows you to be. And with this, I will move out of the screen. I think that is ample time for my audience to read through the slide. Okay, so yeah, here's a beautiful challenge. Even if I find the time, I would like an ending to the song. So the trick when you're using the song like this to prompt some kind of writing activity is to stop the song at the crisis stage. When the song is at the crisis, and then you ask your learners to figure out a nice ending that ties up everything where everybody is happy. Now, I'm at the end of my session, but before I leave, I want to say something. Now, all the content on YouTube is copyright material. You'll hardly ever find anything that is not copyright. So recently, a friend of mine, he was streaming from YouTube onto a YouTube live channel. So from YouTube, they shut down his webinar. They stopped, you know, streaming it. So if you're going live on a large platform on YouTube, please do not stream from YouTube. The possibility of them stopping you because of violating copyright issues is very high. So how did I overcome this problem? You know, I really racked my brains to find a way. So what I did was I downloaded the song from YouTube. You know, I did steal a little from somebody else's copyright, but then I modified it to such an extent that YouTube would not take exception to me using that song. So once I downloaded it, part 2 was I prepared the text, the lyrics in the form of a PPT in different slides. And then the next part is you go to a software and you convert your slide into a video, and then you superimpose the lyrics on it. And when you change the slide, you will have to, the time of when you go to the next slide, you will have to manually select and do it. So once you manually select that, okay, now the lyrics are going over to the next one, you change the slides. And once it's done, you can, the final file will be in the form of an MP4. And I must thank my ex-student and a very good friend of mine who has, worked for days to help me make this videos. So a big thanks to you, Vaishak, for helping me. This is all I have for you today. I hope the session was useful, and I hope, even though it's nothing new that I'm showing you, you will be able to use these kind of activities with ease in your language classroom, and yet retain the spirit of some literature in your classes. Thank you very much. I believe the organizers have prepared for a question and answer round. So I would like Dr. Chandan Soni, if you have any questions from the audience.
Well done mode of magic wand. My equal amount of appreciation and acknowledgement to Dr. Chittaranjan Kar, whose presence is always an intellectual treat and treasure. I also extend my greetings to Altai for putting me here to restate the key points. Because these deliberations have been compact talks, yet the simplicity and knowledge synthesized well to make this signature theme richly functional. Dr. Biswas's thesis makes my summation robust due to the vital and pragmatic energy she infused during the process. At the outset, she established the need of good familiarity with language utility, along with asserting the literariness of creativity, engagement with takers. Her presentation, well compounded with aesthetically done slides to modify her content in far-reaching impact with immediacy and fun-filled teaching. Talking about the gap between language and literature, Dr. Biswas functionally and stylistically used the analogy of river. For more body and soul interrelativeness and complementary alignment made sinewy purposiveness to her presentation. Her magic mantra made an easy way to proficiency with additional emphasis on implicit learning of grammar. To complement further, catching on to her activities has been a profitable and joyous run. There is always a fear of webinars going flat and insipid due to overburdened intellectual volume, but Dr. Biswas added the luster of playful learning. The ugly meme syndrome, my students are lazy, my students are not eager, my students are everywhere, but not here in the class, my students are habitually twins. Here is positively dealt with an effective remedy by rejigging our mode of teaching. Thank you, Dr. Biswas. Your magic mantra has been our investment in vocational capital needed for teaching during these unsettled times. Dr. Chittaranjan Kar is widely known for his analytical, creative, and practical linguistic approaches, which has been persuading others to good learning. With his novel ideas, he is always welcome to any platform. Broad in scope, his deliberations are habitually gifted resources of easy learning. He is, like Dr. Biswas, known for facilitating a positive environment of learning. Elaborating on power of words and significance of silence, he emphasized the efficacy of purpose, environment, and need. His examples, illustrations, and quotes added sequential and logical character to the elaborate nuances inherent in English as linked language and lingua franca. His forte has fortified our understanding to use English with required Englishness in pronunciation and process. Dr. Kerr is an institution whose words are sacred to every learner, no matter what his age is. This reminds me of Jim Rohn, who said in one of his articles, "You are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with, and here, Sir has been our intellectual capital in making the best of the day." His sway from Keats, Eliot, Milton, Coleridge to Barthes and others have been a distinguished cerebral prophet to us. At the close, I would say that I pay my salutations to his Sicilian spirit. I'm also reminded of the words of Oprah Winfrey, who said, "Surround yourself with people who are going to lift you higher." On the note of higher curiosity, as Ye Dil Mange More, I invite Dr. Sunaina Mishra for gracing the closure with vote of thanks. Please, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this wonderful webinar. We, the members from the ILTAI chapter Raipur, are grateful for everyone's presence and contribution to have made the session a successful one. I express my benevolence to Dr. Chimki Vishwas and Dr. Chitranjan Kar, who, in spite of their busy schedule and during this COVID pandemic scenario, accepted our invitation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. The session led by them was very interesting and informative. I would like to express my gratitude to all the ILTAI members and participants, India and abroad. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the technical team for making this event possible and connecting all of us together. I request all the participants to subscribe to our YouTube channel to attend our future ILTAI programs. Those who are interested in ILTAI membership, Raipur chapter,